This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
Welcome to another episode of Tough Talk Tuesday. As always, I'm your host, Lucas Biggers. Alongside me is Robert Alexander. I'm sure we'll have some others pop in. How's it going, Rob?
Man.
It was a loaded question off top, I know.
How is it going, man? It's not going very good. I'm not going to lie. It's not going very well for me, my friend.
Why is that? Let's go into detail. Why is that? What's happening?
I am now having to come towards grips that this sport that I love so much is dying. It definitely is dying. If that show this weekend is what you all want to call the biggest fight of our decade, whatever the hell you want to call it, then the sport is dead, okay? It's dead. And I'm sorry to start the show so dreary, but people are avoiding that factoid right there. Everybody that you talk to, all the critics, everybody online is raving for the fight, saying it lived up to the hype. This blase blah. No, the hell it didn't. If you aren't disappointed, you are not a true fan.
I think it's because I've been disappointed a lot, but I was almost expecting it to a certain degree. And if I said it's actually one of the biggest fights of the year that is going to pan out, that something happens and makes it not, right? I mean, that's just how it works. But let's talk a little bit more about it. Jump right into the thick of things. Early on, I think Ryan Garcia made him a little bit uncomfortable. He was a little bit more wild, a lot more aggressive, and I think it caught Tank off guard early. Would you agree with that?
No. No, not at all. Because if he caught Tank off guard, then how the hell did he land that punch in the second round?
He was still catching him off guard. That was a well-timed counter that did drop him, but you got to admit, you haven't really seen Tank backing up and fighting the way he did, other than maybe Rolly Romero.
I thought Tank was focused and knew exactly what he was doing in that ring. He was razor sharp focused. There's no issue I have with Gervonta Tank Davis at all. I don't have any issue with that man. I told everybody since the boy was 19 years old, he's the best. You remember, you heard it. You heard me call it out. When he was 19 years old, I said he's the best.
That you did.
And he's proving that. You can't take nothing away from Gervonta in this fight. You can't take it away at all.
I think it was a highly touted fight, but as far as competition, I'm not sure if we even would have said that, because didn't we all pick Tank anyway? Or wait, did you pick Garcia?
No, I picked Tank. I'll never pick against Tank. But I am upset even further the fact that I said Garcia is going to gain more credit by going 12 rounds in this fight. That's what I gave Garcia. I gave him the factoid that he would go 12. And you know what? I think Tank thought he would have went 12. Tank was prepared for 12 in that fight. So negating what actually happened, it was going to be a great fight. It was going to be a great matchup. The problem is one person showed up the whole fight. The other person really did not.
I mean, we kind of knew what Ryan Garcia was. I mean, let's put that little play.
No, we didn't. Everybody is sitting here saying that this was the face of boxing. Whoever wins this fight is going to be the face of boxing.
I agree.
A lot of people had Ryan Garcia. Manny Pacquiao at the fight. Ryan's going to take it. Conor McGregor in his corner. in his backing, talking about Ryan's gonna take it. All the hype, all the hoopla, and he didn't take it.
Look, it was a huge step up for Ryan Garcia, but more than that, I mean, just because they were saying it don't mean nothing. I mean, you got to get some varying sides of things. I would say you're going to be hard pressed probably to find a boxing expert, so to speak, that's actually predicting that Garcia was going to win that fight. I don't think anybody was really like backing Garcia.
No, it was. We know what Tank is made of. Let's see what Ryan is made of. That's the situation and what was supposed to take place. I always will root for Tank. I always will pick Tank to win. And he's my fighter. He's my guy. But I was rooting for Ryan to show us what he had. That way it would live up to the hype. All the hype on Ryan would live up to be true. He didn't show it. Not
at all. Because Connor's saying like, "Oh, I want to see it again." Like, I don't want to see that shit again. I don't want no part of a rematch. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Ryan don't want to see it again. Ryan don't want to see it again. I should have. There's several things that I seen during the All Access and leading up to the fight that were tall tales of this bout, and I should have seen it coming. And the one is, you almost forget they had the altercation in the nightclub with Tank and Garcia before this fight was even made. And then Tank said, "Oh, I think Ryan was uttering something to me like, 'Hey, can we be friends after the fight? Like, we're gonna be friends after the fight.'" Tank don't care about that, man. Tank, even after the fight, yeah, you see him hug, you see him hold. That's Ryan coming up to Tank, asking him for those photo ops. That's Ryan asking to shake his hand. Tank don't care about that, man. Never has, never will. Tank don't care about him at all. Ryan is the one who cares for that clout. He's the one who thirsts for that, because he knew going into the fight he wasn't gonna beat him, and that's why they're giving him the mini moniker as the mini Mike Tyson of the sport right now.
Yeah, it was funny. He even tried the towel over his head at the end of the fight, and they, what's his name, Gray, pushed it off of him. Like, no, you're not wearing that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at it this way. Ryan Garcia, nobody really expected to win or anything, but I do a little bit surprised on how he was able to get through there. I honestly think that second round knockdown would have put a lot of other guys out. So I will say that Ryan Garcia's chin's better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, it was the same shot he took against Luke Campbell. It was the same shot. I told people, my whole house was rocking when that shot landed and he went down. And I told him I was the only one standing still or sitting still. Because I said, no, he's done this before. He knows how to come out of it. And he did. I don't have an issue with the way Ryan fought or was fighting. Let's say that. I don't have an issue with the way Ryan was fighting that night. He tested the power. He didn't want to go in there again. He was more hesitant after that round.
That actually took away any chance he had of winning. After he got knocked down in that second round, he changed strategies completely. He fought scared. He's jabbing. He was quick to get his hands home again because he did not want to get caught. And honestly, the only way that you're going to be able to fight Tank is to constantly put leather on that man. Is constantly throw.
And then you can lose there too.
Because
Santa Cruz did it. He lost. Isaac Cruz tried to do it for 12 rounds. He lost. Let's put it to you like this though. There are other ways to win here for Ryan. There were other ways to win. That's take him into the deep waters, try your luck later on in the fight, but the number one goal, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing on. And I had no problem with him, even when he took the knee. I had no problem with him taking the knee. Had no problem with that at all.
Taking the knee smart.
Yeah, absolutely smart. I had no problem with that. But get the hell up. If you're still standing at the end of this fight, you did not give it your all and you quit. Period. You quit. That's the problem I have is don't put all the hype on this or yourself and quit to save your own face. Because it should have been, the storyline should have been Gervonta Davis wins in either a devastating knockout to his opponent or Ryan gets the credit for going the distance. And that's what I'm talking about right there. There are other ways to win this type of fight. He should have tried to go the distance. He should have tried a couple of different things on. But if anything else, survive the fight.
Look, I'm gonna say he lost this way before, and I might catch some flack for this. Okay, I might. People aren't gonna like this, but I knew Tank would lose when Ryan canceled the fight for mental reasons. I'm sorry to say it, but this is not only a physically strong sport, you have to be mentally strong. And if you're taking days off because of mental stress, you ain't made for this. Go find a comfy desk job, you know. I'm sorry, but this is not mental health days. You don't get those in boxing, okay? If anything, that proves there you don't have that fighter mentality. You know what I mean? And he quit on himself, just like you said. He quit there, and he's quitting now because, yeah, he took a bad shot. I think Ryan Garcia tried to get up. Originally, it was like, it's too soon. And then around 8, they could have. I mean, that 8 was a little bit longer. You know, they let him go a little longer. He didn't want to move. He didn't want no part of it. I think he definitely could have got back up. He decided that was it. I'm going out now.
He got up at 11.
You know what? And he went out like that because then he can still lose and save face. If he gets knocked out, then he becomes a laughing stock. You know how they do. So he didn't want that.
That's a good question.
He just doesn't live that boxing mentality. He's not the guy who's going to go out on his shield. He's just not that guy.
That's a good question, Hobby. In this sport, to you, and you train boxers, you fight everything. In this sport, to you, Hobby, is it sometimes better to give up to save face, or do you actually go out on your shield? What's your opinion?
I have a feeling he's going to give a couple different.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. So I'm going to give you two different different views, I guess. But as far as like what I personally believe in part of this game, as a fighter, as a boxing fanatic, as somebody that loves the sport, sometimes we have certain expectations about certain people, right? And sometimes our expectations don't get, I guess, met, and we have certain opinions about it after that. But personally, man, I don't think you should. If you feel like you have to kind of surrender and give up, then maybe this sport is not for you. It might be a little bit too harsh for you, because this is the sport where literally is brutal, and this is the hurt business. And I understand. There's a lot of ego, and there's a lot of pride, and there's a lot of emotions. But at the same time, it's like sometimes based on your culture and all the stuff that's been going in prior to the fight, people are gonna expect something. Meaning, like how we do as fans. If somebody's talking a lot of shit, we expecting a lot. We automatically, our human psychology is gonna raise the bars of what we expecting because this person's talking a lot of shit. Right now, when you're talking about Mexican fighters, You pretty much a warrior. It's the embodiment of a warrior. These guys, some of these guys, that you see them like, they take punishment, they keep coming, they go out on their shields, they risk it, and I feel like somehow it was kind of a letdown because I'm not gonna say that Ryan took the easy way out, which it might seem like he did, because man, the body shots that hurt. That was a not a whole full leverage body shot, but that was a body shot that will paralyze you, and then it's a liver shot that will have a lot of people, quitting as well. But what I'm saying is, because of the way that this fight was sold in a way and promoted, I felt like it would have been better if one of them, either of them, go out on their shield, leave everything in there, and you will get more respect because it's like, oh shoot, damn, he got up, he went at it. Of course, he lost to the better man, but he gave it his all. He threw 100. It can be for either guy because Tank could have been dropped, and then we wanted to see how he react to it. You know what I'm saying? So we will pretty much have higher demands and higher expectations from this fight, and I feel like not a lot of it was met, but at the same time, man, if you ever get hit with a liver shot, is not something that it's something that I don't even wish on my enemy. Just put it that way. It just hurt. And not only that, but I also feel like it was kind of an accumulation because everybody saw what happened in the second round when he got dropped. Right there and then, that's when he realized like what kind of phenomena he had in front of him. And I'm not saying he didn't get gunshot. I give him pride for that because he got up again, just like the Campbell fight, and he came out throwing. He was fighting. He was giving a little bit of himself. But there's a lot of errors that I felt like there should have been some way fixed in camp because this training, all this stuff, and at the same time, I felt like a lot of it could be I already got dropped with an uppercut that I never saw coming, and now this liver shot. Like the next time, I'm probably gonna just completely get dropped. When they have to take me out, probably it's gonna take me some time. Like I don't know what was his thoughts. I cannot speak for the man, but definitely, man, I feel like this fight didn't really deliver what a lot of people expected from it.
And here's the issue with that, right? For me, this is the big issue in what happened. Why take the fight? Why agree to all of those speculations? The weight cut, the rehydration clause, the less split, the little amount, the less split that you took. Everything A-sided was for Tank. Why take the fight if all you're going to do is prove you took the fight? That's it. I'm not giving you credit for that, Ryan. I'm not. If you're listening, I'm not. That's what you want, boy. You want credit for that. I'm not giving you credit for that. You don't get credit for that, Ryan. If you take the damn fight.
It did feel like to me that, early on he was trying to pressure Tank, trying to see if maybe he would be able to get out of there. And when Tank was taking his best, he didn't know how to handle it. And I got to praise Brian for his chin because, honestly, I didn't think he was even going to get up from that second round knockdown. He went down quick. I mean, that was a brutal shot. He was able to get back to his feet, but I do think he quit on himself. It seemed like a Maidana thing all over again. And I think I don't want to call him soft, but we all see that he doesn't really have that deep down dog in him. I mean, I think we knew that about Garcia before, just like we know it about, Victor Ortiz, because he openly said it. So we're not expecting it going forward in any of their fights, Now, if we get it, it's just a great. And I agree with what you were saying, Rob. I think he is clout chasing. I think, he was friends with the Paul brothers and shit. So, I mean, it was a fight to be the face of boxing because if Ryan Garcia could pull this off, I do think he would, transcend the sport. And it's honestly probably a little bit better for the sport if Ryan Garcia was to win. But I do want to talk also about that knockdown, guys. Did you see the goddamn scorecards? How in the blue fuck is it not a 10-8 on all scorecards and not one of them had it? Not one card. It was 10-9 on all three judges' scorecards.
No, one judge had it 10-10.
What?
That knockdown.
Really? I haven't. I didn't even see
one judge had it
10-10. I mean, we pretty much know that if it was to go to decision, Tank was not gonna get it. I know for a fact. I knew I had that, but
he was up.
All right, welcome, Jules. Jules, everybody.
Jules,
what's up, man?
How you been?
What's up, man?
I know it's been a long time. I know you guys thought I died, right?
Good to have you back. We're talking, of course, Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Little solo recap. We were basically just talking about how Ryan Garcia kind of doesn't live, that boxing lifestyle. He seems a little soft, and we kind of could tell he was going to quit on himself. Do you think that's what happened too?
Absolutely not. I know I'm in the minority on this. I'm going to be honest with you. A body shot hurts, man. A body shot hurts. It wasn't like it was a grazing punch. You know what I mean? It's funny. We're talking about if a person didn't get up on purpose. And I was rewatching Mike Tyson versus Bruce Seldon. Now that was obvious of a guy who didn't take a hard punch, could have gotten up and didn't. Davis, we know, Rob, you've been a Davis fan for how long? You know Davis can punch, right?
Oh, yeah.
Davis is a hard puncher. That was a sneaky body shot, and it was a delayed reaction. As a matter of fact, it reminded me of when Bernard Hopkins hit De La Hoya with that punch. Granted, De La Hoya was in a lot more pain, but I really believe that, Ryan Garcia, I feel that he took a hard body shot. And could he have continued? Like I said, I don't know. I don't know Garcia's pain threshold. Everybody's comparing him to like Arturo Gatti. Well, Arturo Gatti could get stabbed with scissors back in the day and still fight. You know what I mean? Like he had a crazy pain threshold. So, you can't really compare the two. I think it was a legitimate body shot. I think it was a stoppage. I don't think that Ryan Garcia was faking it. I think, once again, it was one of those punches where it was a delayed reaction. He got caught with a really clean body shot, and he just couldn't continue.
Now, I said this when before you and Javi joined, but I was like, I'm probably going to catch heat for it. But to me, when Ryan Garcia quit for the mental stress day, this is boxing. You need to be mentally tough as well as physically tough. So, going into it, it did look like he got dropped. Right, he was, and it was a good shot. Don't get me wrong. You could see him attempt to get up, went back down, and then no other attempt was made. They were giving him those long counts at the end there. Are you sure? 8, and he didn't. He was like, nah, fuck that. I'm not getting up. I think he could have. I just don't think he has that in him.
Yeah, that's where I partially agree with you, Lucas. Because I feel like he could have got up and kind of like probably just cruise through the round. Get his feet under him, try to recover, and then come back again, try again. But at the same time, the part where I kind of agree with you, I'm not gonna say he quit himself, he gave up on himself, even though it kind of gave that impression. But I felt like it was the accumulation of things, of how things were escalating, how things were going. Like he knew from that point and on, like, okay, it's just gonna get worse from now. So
I agree.
I can just, this body shot hurts, and I can just stop it right here now before it gets worse, and then I can really get embarrassed. I kind of could see that happening, but at the same time, the late reaction that he had, it also kind of let you know that he was fighting, he was throwing until your body paralyzed, and then. He didn't look that much in pain and agony like we've seen certain people go down from a body shot. But at the same time, it's like I don't think he's mentally tough for a lot of stuff. And I'm not gonna judge his pain tolerance, but at the same time, it's like I'm more of going from a fan side, knowing that if I pay for the fight and I saw all this build up to all this hype, that I'm expecting a lot more for somebody to actually, go out in their shield. I'm not expecting somebody to just like, nah, let me just stop right here. I'll come back another time.
But I want to interrupt because Javi, you're the guy who you've been in the ring, right? You know what it takes to be in the ring, and obviously you've been hit. A lot of fighters will say that when they get hit with a body shot, their mind is telling them to get up, but their legs are saying, no, stay down, my friend, because you're not going anywhere for a while. So do you kind of feel, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lucas.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Do you feel that that's what happened to Ryan Garcia? Because I feel the same way. I at first I was thinking, it looked like he could have gotten up because at 10 he got up, or rather at like 11, it seemed like he just got up and he didn't have trouble breathing and things of that nature. But I'm like, you know what? From the count 1 to 10, he was probably telling himself, listen, get up. You can get up. But his legs was just like, listen, I'm sorry, son. This is the end of the road for you.
I do think so. I agree with you to the point where, sometimes, like I said, you can see the late reaction. Sometimes you want to go and you're in go mode and the adrenaline has you going, but your body literally paralyzed from the inside. There's nothing you can do about it. But at the same time, he got up at 10 and he got up pretty much quicker and he was fully alert. And you can tell he wasn't really out of it. Like you see certain people, sometimes you look at at the fighter's eyes to see where they're at, because sometimes their eyes are all over the place and you can tell they're in Bumbleland because they're so hurt. But at the same time, it's kind of like it could happen either way. Sometimes you get paralyzed to the first, like you want to move and your body can't move. The only way I can explain it is kind of like if you ever have I don't know how they call that, but I think it's called like a sleep apnea or something like that, when you're dreaming that you have to run, but you cannot run. And it's kind of like, it's like you're trying to run, but your body's not responding. You're running really, really slow and you like trying to speed off. It's kind of like that. You ever had those type of dreams?
For sure. All right. Let's switch topic here slightly. CJ Hooker wants to know who is next for Tank. Does he move up, or does he stay down to wait for the winner of Haney versus Lomachenko? Does he take a tune-up fight against George Kambosos, or does he fight one guy who has the best chance to beat him in Shakur Stevenson? I think it's going to be a minute before we see Shakur Stevenson. I honestly do. I think that's one of the better fights to make now, if not the fight to make. And I agree with you, CJ. I think that's one of the few on the list that could possibly beat him. But Haney versus Loma is a good option. Does he really need a tune-up, guys? I mean, this wasn't a hard fight.
There's a reason why he made this at 136. He made him drain the weight because he wants to be able to put on a show and hold the power. He needs to stay at 135. He should stay at 135 right now because that's where the business is. That's where the money is. You got Haney, Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson on his way up. You have all these fights. Those 3 fights right there are legends in the making fights. Those are all legacy fights. Stay at 135 right now. But, and he does have that advantage that he can slide up to 140 if he sees a good possibility to jump on something and take advantage of somebody at 140. He can do that. But for right now, he doesn't need to. Stay at 135. Take on these guys right here because really moving up right now, to me, there's nobody at 140 really that tells me that he needs to make a statement there.
What about Progress?
Progress ain't there.
I was just going to say that, though.
He ain't there. He ain't there. Progress, I agree with you, Javi, if he had the resume or the names like Lomo or Haney on his career, but he doesn't have that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jules.
No, honestly, Rob, I really think Regis got that dog in him, though, man. Like, he's the type of guy that if he's gonna make a fight, or if Tank wants like a real challenge, I think that would be it. In my opinion, I personally feel that would be like one of the toughest fights.
Yeah.
Regis, I mean, yeah, I get that. But when you still have Lomo and Devin Haney, and them guys out there, if Regis had a name like Teofimo Lopez, then move up to 140. If Teofimo could put it together up there at 140 and go on a win streak and win some titles, then that would be the fight I would say he should go for. But there's not a name to me like that up there at 140 right now that's earned a shot at a guy like Tank, because let's face it, right now Tank is the face of boxing.
I mean, he is, and for multiple reasons. I was thoroughly impressed with how he handled Ryan Garcia. I mean, if you look at how he fought backwards, you know what I mean, and he was able to actually use his boxing skill. He's not just all power. You know, he's the full package. A lot of people don't give him credit for it. He was fighting backwards and able to counter Ryan Garcia, who is extremely fast, which means your timing has to be on point, and he did it well. And on that note, I'm also going to be like, what the hell is wrong with Ryan Garcia? Let's talk about this, guys. If I asked you what is a big glaring flaw, you're all going to say what? Pull him back with his chin in the fucking air. Why does he keep doing it? I don't understand, right? So we always say a good fighter does what? Get off.
Get out.
Get in, get off, get out. He can't get the get out part, right? He can't get out. He doesn't jab when he's coming out. He just pulls out. And you're going to get knocked the fuck out doing that. Like, you can't do that. Not especially at the elite level. You want to go down and you want to fight some C-level fighters, you can get away with that shit. But you ain't going to get away with that shit when you're fighting the man at 135.
Well, no, you can get away with it if you have phenomenal reflexes. I think what Ryan Garcia's problem is, I think he felt his reflexes were better than what they were. You know, case in point, we talk about, you know, things that you can do, and that was Muhammad Ali, right? Like Muhammad Ali could do that because he was extremely fast in his prime. Obviously, when he got out of his prime, he was getting hit a lot because he didn't have the reflexes anymore. And I think with Ryan Garcia, I think that was his issue. I think he overestimated his reflexes, and you know, even prior to that, I think that's what he did. He overestimated his reflexes and his ability to pull back as he can, you know, get away. My name is Lucas, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. You were talking about his flaw, and I was thinking about how Ryan Garcia was told by Gervonta that he only has one punch, the left hook, right? Ryan Garcia is like, no, I have more punches. What is he relying on in the fight? He's relying on the left hook, and that's why he got counted. I'm like, come on. This is exactly what Tank told you. Tank told you you only have a left hook. What are you relying on the whole fight? The left hook. And that's why you were getting counted. I was screaming at him, like, please throw a right hand.
You know what that is, though? All that was an implanted memory. He like, this is all you got, and he baited him into throwing it.
Yeah, and that's what a great fighter does. Basically, a great fighter will get you out of your plan and put enough pressure into like making you go back to your flows, making you go back to your natural errors, because every fighter has natural errors and flows, and you can correct those in camp here and there. And sometimes if the game plan is going according to you and you gain some momentum, and your opponent, you know, it's like a dance. Your opponent is kind of letting you have the lead, then you practice what been working on camp and everything looks good. But when your opponent is not really collaborating with you and he's trying to like get you out of your plan, then sometimes you get frustrated with the plan, and then sometimes the other plan that you was working on and all this stuff you do in camp, then you resort back to what you know. And of course, Ryan has a lot of flaws, and definitely this is kind of like the occasion. It's kind of like I was telling my guys in the gym, you know, like, and a lot of these kids nowadays that be watching this shit, is like, a lot of people give Ryan Garcia a chance just based on IG flashy videos of him hitting the reflex back, these speed drills when he throws 100 punches in 30 seconds, all this stuff it helps you with your stamina, it helps you with your conditioning and everything. But in reality, in a fight, somebody that's fundamentally sound with the experience that Tank has, they will let you get off they will time your speed, they will catch you on the way out, on the way in, when your speed and your velocity is basically not your advantage. You know, they're gonna make your advantage be insignificant to them, and apply the fundamentals and get to you. And I feel like Tank not only has better fundamentals, but Tank also faced the better opposition prior to this fight. The amount of experience that Tank has basically in his resume is a lot more quality rounds than Ryan. Ryan has a lot of these flaws because the kind of position that he's been facing kind of has let him get away with shit like that and still be able to win, and still be able to deliver a knockout. Where Tank has to face the better position, and he had to be in his A game, A1 plus game, to be able to beat that type of position. And that's why I was favoring Tank to be the winner, because the amount of quality rounds.
For sure. I mean, you look at Ryan Garcia's resume; he doesn't have anything close. I mean, nothing close to Tank. Tank's already done things that I didn't even think was capable, like knocking Leo Santa Cruz out. I mean, but let's go back to the whole thing of Ryan Garcia.
Hold on, let me give my take on Ryan. To what Hobby and everybody was saying, the flaws are evident because I believe in camp and everything they do, even in training with Goosen and everybody, they rely too much on Ryan's athleticism. And that's all they do, and that's all they train, and that's what he trains for in camp. There's really no other strategies. There's really no other working on your flaws, working on more fundamentals. They're just working on the athleticism and relying on him to do that. That being said, he does take a good punch. He's proven that twice now. So he does take a good punch. That's why I was more disappointed in him taking the knee and not getting back up, because I felt like he would have won more. He would have won more from us if he would have just got up and continued to fight, no matter how bad it would have been or how bad it would have ended. That's what I'd like to have seen.
I want to kind of revisit it. Where do we go from here with Ryan Garcia? Because we can't blame it on one different trainer, right? Because this has been going on. He's moved to Dan Goosen, and I don't want to talk badly about Dan Goosen because it may not be Goosen's fault, but at the same time, you need to beat this into him. You need to, if you're going to be his trainer going forward, this needs to be corrected, and this damn sure need to be corrected before Tank. You know what I'm saying? This can't keep happening. And I don't mean to cut you off, but you look at Khan when he was with Freddie, right? He was able to slip out of those and get away. You see with Virgil Hunter, he's overextending all of his combinations and he's getting knocked out. You have to have your get out plan. And he didn't have that with Virgil. He had it with Freddie Roach. And so far, Ryan Garcia has not had it at all. He cannot get out of his combinations cleanly.
I'm gonna start something tonight, though. I'm gonna let Jules and Hobby give their take on the technical aspect of it, the trainers or whatnot. Then you come to me, because I'm gonna start something with these issues.
And I say that because I want to see Ryan Garcia with Freddie Roach. I think it's the best fit for those parties involved. But that's just me. I am interested to see what you guys say.
Yeah. Go ahead, y'all, because I got a different take altogether on this issue.
Go ahead, Jules. Enlighten him.
That's a good point. I mean, the question to me is, can Ryan Garcia make these adjustments now? That's the only thing, because I feel like this is a guy
somewhat still young, though, right? I mean, he's 24.
No, it's not that he's young. It's just that this is a guy who's been, he's been fighting since he was a kid, and he's had so much success on what he's done that we kind of feel has been technically wrong. That it's like, is he I'm not gonna say that he can't. I mean, even when De La Hoya went to Floyd Mayweather Sr., he was able to change his style and be more defensive. So I'm not saying it can't be done. I think, once again with Ryan, it's, Case, I feel like this, right? And this may be controversial. I think the worst thing that happened to Ryan was getting knocked down by Luke Campbell, because I feel like what happened with him was he got knocked down, he got up, and he fought back, and he won that fight. And I think his whole thing is, you know what, I got that, I got that dog in me. Like I can, even if I get knocked down, I can still make these mistakes and come back to win. And even with the Tank fight, like after, in the post conference, post fight press conference, he wasn't talking about the adjustments that he needs to make. It was more like his plans to move to 140. He was grateful for the opportunity to fight Tank. Tank's a great fighter. And that was really about it. It didn't seem like this was a guy who really said to himself, you know what, I have flaws I need to work on, and I'm going to correct them and be better for my next opponents. I don't even think Ryan Garcia sees it. I think he sees, okay, this is just who I am as a fighter. If I get up and win, I win. If I don't, hey, you know what I mean? I live to fight another day. So I don't know even if he's with a Freddie Roach, I don't know if he's going to be, in that situation. I mean, listen, I remember when Jermaine Taylor, and I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time.
No, you're good.
When Jermaine Taylor was with Emmanuel Stewart, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Jermaine Taylor with Emmanuel Stewart, Stewart's going to do a great job. Because the whole thing with Jermaine Taylor was Jermaine Taylor always backed up. Even when he was the bigger guy, he would back up. And they were like, oh, Emmanuel Stewart is going to have him stand his ground. He's with Manny Stewart for a couple of fights. He's still backing up. He's still getting pushed back. Even Manny is like yelling at him, like, stop fucking moving back. You're the bigger man. Just stay in the middle of the fight. So I kind of feel like even Ryan Garcia, he may be in a situation where those habits may just be instilled in him, no matter who he has.
You're basically saying he's not super coachable of a person.
I'm not saying he's not coachable. I'm just saying that sometimes when when something is ingrained in you since you were a child, certain habits, it's hard to break. He may even be able to do that in a fight, his next fight. But what happened is when it starts getting rough, he'll revert back to those old habits because it's just ingrained in him. Sometimes you have to teach the technical aspect when they're, out of the freaking cradle. You know what I mean? Like, Floyd Mayweather was doing a shoulder roll at like 2 years old. You know what I mean? He couldn't do anything else because that's just, what he's been taught. So with Ryan Garcia, it just may be difficult. That's my personal take. I'm sorry if I took too much time, guys.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I feel like certain coaches can give him a certain look and certain, I guess different type of tool. But for the most part, our fighter always gonna come with their own habits and flaws and attributes and qualities, goods and bads. And there's something that they could be fixable in a way, but you never. Sometimes some fighters, it depends on how they. That's also why some fighters separate themselves, because some fighters actually evolve and they kind of get rid of those flaws and they become the bigger complete package as they go. But some fighters carry those flaws all throughout their careers, and some of them, they never, become that complete package. Honestly, Ryan is too young. We don't know the what could be, what could happen from him. But I see like a lot of amateur type of flaws that that you don't even do the shit in the amateurs. And I feel like because of his speed, he has gotten away with all this stuff. But as you age, your speed starts slowing down a little bit. Once you start losing those little milliseconds, little by little, then all those flaws really become a liability. Now people are catching you and all of this stuff. So as far as like as a trainer, I don't know how I feel. I don't know how many times this guy changed trainers already. I don't know if he's gonna be changing trainers every time he lost. He takes a L. So that also speaks a lot of him. But I feel like he has potential. The kid can come. He can amount to something. It just like maybe should focus more on his career as a fighter than just I guess being a model and being a face for TV and for the screen. This type of jobs, if he's really serious about it, sometimes this have to be your full time, your bread and water, so that you can only eat that. And sometimes being hungry like that will make you improve. It will not give you an option to like fall back because these guys come from nothing. So that coming from nothing, the hunger never leaves them, and he always pushes them to work, 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 work. Where in the case of Ryan, I don't really see the hunger in him. I don't see that double him much.
Never felt it.
Yeah, me neither. So
So
I'm not putting the men down. I'm just saying, like, there's certain qualities that you see in certain fighters, and certain qualities that you don't see it. And I don't see a lot of this stuff in Ryan.
so let me address it two ways. Because exactly what you're saying, the flaws where you say you don't see this hunger and stuff like that in Ryan, that leads me to another issue he has in his camp. But to say it best, Floyd Mayweather Sr. said it best in this fight. Ryan should have been using his range and fighting from the outside. Tank was giving you that all day. He was giving you that range and letting you fight on the outside. If he would have did that, he could have used the speed more and set up everything with the jab. He didn't jab as much as he normally does in fights or anything at all, Lucas. When he did come in with a barrage and attack him, he came inside too much. He tried to parade him with those punches. He didn't use the range at all. And Floyd Sr. had it perfect. Use your range, use your jab, fight on the outside. Tank's giving you that. So that was a major flaw in why he lost this fight, number one. Two, the issue that you guys are seeing is what everybody's seeing in Ryan now. Basically, you're saying, does he have it? Or do he got it? One of the major things that a fighter of this this young and with the mental issues and everything, one of the major things he needs is behind him is a strong team. Golden Boy Promotions is not that team. Period. They lost Canelo for a reason. This is now supposed to be their cash cow. And Bernard Hopkins said that many a times going into the fight, that this fight was made by Ryan Garcia. We are now invested fully in him because we lost Canelo. We have no other way out. And as his promoter, for you to make a spectacle of things, a spectacle at the weigh-in, what the fuck are they even getting involved for? They don't even need to be getting involved. Let the fighters handle it. Making a spectacle by not showing up in the ring after the loss. Making a spectacle by not showing up in the press conference. But yet, you still want to promote him? You still want his career to continue with you? Get out of here. They need to be shut down, especially with the Ryan Garcia business, and he needs to find a better promoter.
I'm going to catch a lot of slack for this, and I don't even care if Ryan's listening. I'm just going to say it. I really don't see a world champion here. I just don't. He has, I think, all of the things physically he needs. He has everything as far as that's concerned, but that grit and that extra dog, he just does not have that. I don't see that. And you kind of have to have that to be able to be a world champion in this sport. I want to ask you guys, and this is just a quick Rod's rapid fire type question. Is he going to be a world champion? Just yes or no, Rob?
Yes.
He's going to be a world champion. All right.
Absolutely. Get better people behind you, though.
Jules,
Get people that can make that happen.
Jules, you're going to be champion. Yes Lucas. Or no? Hey, I say yes or no. It's supposed to be quick.
I was talking too much. Yes, Lucas. He's going to be a world champion again.
No, I was talking to Rob. Rob kept going on.
Got you. But yeah, I say yes. He's going to be world champion.
All right, Javi. CJ says
with all these belts. With all these belts, yeah, he will be champion with all these belts.
Okay, let's make it an actual championship, though. One, I'm not talking about. Hold on. Okay, let me rephrase this and make it a little bit more. Actually beating a world champion. Fuck that getting a vacant title shit. Ain't no fighting no C title fighter for this belt. Okay, I'm talking about a real.
Come on, Lucas, that's unfair. That's unfair.
It is fair.
That wasn't the question. The question was, is it going to be champion? Absolutely. He can get it by mail. He can do whatever. he will be a champion.
All right. Yeah. So does that change any of your votes? If I say. No. He can't win by no vacant title. He can't fight no chump. He has to actually take on a current reigning and defending champion.
Yes, he can be a world champion. Yes.
Out of those fighters, basically anybody at the top 135. I mean, we're talking about 135. I guess we should be looking at 140. Because he ain't going down there. You're talking he can beat Prograis, he can beat Taylor, he can beat Cottrell, Jose Ramirez. What are we talking here? You guys think he can actually hang with these names and beat these names?
Yes.
Javi's shaking his head. No, you're saying yes. What we got?
Those guys, he can bang it there with a few 140, top quality 140. But them guys you just mentioned, I don't think so, man.
All right. CJ says he can beat Josh Taylor.
Yes. Which means he could beat Teofimo Lopez.
And going back to actually, CJ made a good point because Rob was talking about, with the trainers and the team. I don't understand why Ryan left Canelo's team. I really don't understand. I think that was the perfect team for him. Canelo, you're talking about this guy's the first ballot Hall of Famer when he retires. Eddie Reynoso, I've always said, is a phenomenal trainer. I really don't understand why he left them, because if it was anyone who was going to change the habits, Lucas, that we were just talking about, it was going to be those guys, and it looked like they were working on that prior to him leaving Goossen. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything about Goossen being a bad trainer. Goossen is a Hall of Fame trainer, we know that. But in terms of correcting the mistakes, I don't think Goossen had enough time the way that Canelo's camp was having time to change those habits, particularly because he was able to work with Canelo. They had Andy Ruiz at that time. He had guys that he can work with to help him with those flaws.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think, Reynoso's a great trainer. But, didn't he have a couple of fights underneath Reynoso and still nothing changed? We saw the same old Ryan Garcia to me.
He changed dramatically because he was so young, Lucas. And they were just starting to develop that rapport. They were just starting to develop that relationship.
Okay, but we're talking about multiple fights. We're not talking about, they just got off to a rocky start.
Well,
and Ryan Garcia got cut, right? Did Reynoso not drop him? Is that not what happened?
No, remember.
No, he left. He left.
I could have sworn Ryan Garcia got dropped.
No, he left because that was the whole thing. It was Ryan Garcia had made a statement saying that we were parting ways. As a matter of fact, we were all talking. Weren't we all talking about how phenomenal he looked against Javier Fortuna? He looked really good against Fortuna and what's his name? I'm sorry, not Francesco. Because we were like, oh, that's going to be a very tough fight for Ryan, and Ryan steamrolled him. You know what I mean? And that was with Eddie Reynoso. So I kind of feel like he was getting to that point where he was working on those mistakes with Reynoso, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving. They're leaving, and I'm going." He's going to Goossen.
Yeah.
What Lucas is trying to do is he's trying to take the kid out already. You're trying to take the kid out of boxing, out the sport already. He want to mount to hill of beans in this sport.
I know. The next article by Lucas, Ryan, give it up, please. Please.
Right.
You had a great career.
I thought I was mad. Listen, Jules and CJ Hooker, I agree with you, CJ and Jules. You're both absolutely right. He has something cooking there. And then they parted ways. I believe really what happened is the mental health issues started coming in. And, Canelo being a true Mexican warrior type fighter, he don't believe in none of that. So they wanted him to keep going and keep working where he wanted to take a break. And that's kind of what led to the end of that.
Yeah.
He can get back on that though.
Yeah. You got to remember too, when they first split up, Ryan was singing the tune of they're busy with their superstar, so they don't really have too much time for me. And what they were all saying on the other side was like, oh, we got time for him. We just want him to come more often because he only comes once every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So we really don't know the story, the true story. We will never know. You know the one story, then the other side story, and then there's the truth.
Hold on. And this is what I keep coming back to, because I know for sure? No, but when there's smoke, there's fire, right? He's taking mental stress days. Now they're saying he's not showing up for camp. Who do I believe? I believe Reynoso. Of course, I'm gonna believe Reynoso. Show your ass up for camp, man. Come on now. He doesn't have it in him. That's why I'm saying I don't think he can be world champion. If he does, he ain't gonna hold on to it. I don't think he has that boxing in him. He just don't got it.
Dan, Lucas, it looks like you already gave up on this.
I'm telling you, Lucas, the next heavyweight boxing, he's gonna do like 10 bells, the 10 count bells for Ryan Garcia. I'm telling you, he's like, yeah, this dude is done.
Listen. Okay, and I know Javi. I'm not sure about the other two, but Javi, I know you at least train and mold people. Now you know certain people. When you're training, when you're coaching, you're given that instruction. You watch that guy, and he follows it to the T, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to repeat it over and over again. You don't have to say hands up. You don't have to say slip that punch. You've already ingrained it. But then there's those ones that you might have had even longer than that one, and you got to say everything all the time. Hands up. Slip the jab, you know what I mean? You have to repeat over and over again just by looking at a guy and how he carries himself, even at a young age. You can tell if he's got it or if he don't got it. If he's coachable, if he's that moldable piece of clay, or if you're just banging your head against a wall for 2 hours while he's there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. Some guys have it, some guys don't have it. Like it, and sometimes it's like, as a fighter, you're expected to be this warrior, like no fear, no surrender type of attitude. And I don't know if it's like the new generation and everything like that, because that's something like that we were talking about before. Remember when we were talking about like, these mental issues and things like that, and we were saying something like, "Hey, can you imagine Mike Tyson pulling out of a fight because he has mental issues?" Or Muhammad Ali, all these Roberto Duran, Arturo Gotti saying, "Oh, guys, I can't do this because of my mental issues, my mental health, blah blah blah." We were kind of like saying that because that was kind of like the type of stuff that we grew up on, and that's the type of expectations that we have. Now, the new generation of boxing fans, I'm not sure how they are, because you have this whole new kids that are more of like, they don't even know who Muhammad Ali, Roberto Duran is, but they'll tell you who's Jake Paul, and they'll tell you everything that he's done. You know what I'm saying? So for this new generation, I don't know what really their expectations are, but yeah, I think you can pretty much recognize that on certain people. That some people learn fast, some people learn slower, some people actually they keep showing up, and by the law of showing up, they learn even when they are like the most uncoordinated and balanced, no rhythm, no athleticism whatsoever. If they keep showing up, they're gonna get a little better and a little better and a little better. They're gonna learn something. But there are guys that just don't have it. They just don't have that dog on him, like you say. And I honestly, like, I don't want to say that about Ryan yet, because I also give him props for daring to be great. Just kind of like when Mikey Garcia went against Spence, I was one of the guys giving him props for it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like this type of stuff. Yeah, he's been calling out Ryan, and he probably bit a little bit more than what he can chew. But at the same time, it's like we criticize certain stuff, but we also gotta remember, like, we're not seeing this a lot. We're not seeing an undefeated guy coming up in the ranks with all the hype, calling another one, and that's kind of what we want to see more. So when it comes to that, like I said, I'm gonna be playing devil's advocate the whole show. Well, I have to give him props for that. But can he be a world champion? I think he can be a world champion. Does he have the dog on him? I'm not sure, but he's too young. So from now on, a lot of stuff can happen to him, and I want to see how he comes back from this, because this type of defeat that he had is not only just his first defeat, but it's probably one of the biggest fight, one of the biggest tests on his career that he didn't go through. And you can tell a lot about somebody when they're doing good and they're improving, but you can tell a lot more from somebody that tasted defeat, went and crashed against the wall. how they come back, how they pick themselves up from this rut. You know what I'm saying? How they come out of the hole and become better. I'm still yet to see. So.
No, I agree with you there. It's definitely going to see how he comes out of this loss on how he's going to be. But I got to disagree with as far as the daring to be great thing. I mean, listen, we're talking about a guy that hasn't even had a world title shot yet, right? So he's getting the world title shot. He's getting a significant pay increase. I mean, give me a title shot. I'll take one right now. And I can barely walk with the way my back is. But at the same time, it's like, what this is not Canelo fighting Bivol and going up and trying to prove himself. This is not that at all. This is you getting drained down to 136 and trying to fight a meaningless fight, not even for a title. I mean, this isn't that to me. So I agree and I disagree.
But Lucas, you gotta remember, Ryan went down in weight. Ryan agreed to the rematch clause. Yeah. Ryan agreed to the rehydration clause. Now, I'm not going to give the man all the excuses, but because of Ryan, we had this fight.
I agree 100%. Yep.
So that's somebody willingly trying to, like, I don't know if he was trying to, like, you know, prove something to himself or prove something to his fans, but I give him props for that because a lot of guys are playing the safer route of, like, you know, low risk, high reward. Ryan took the high risk, high reward, and we don't see a lot of that. So I'm not even proud for that. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I felt like he could have done a lot more. You know.
Now you may be right, and if so, I'll apologize. But
Jules wrote a great article.
I don't like to call people out this drastically, but I honestly think that this could be a cash out situation.
No,
I do not think Ryan Garcia is invested. In the sport.
I'm sorry.
I honestly don't. I
not
don't
at all.
see it.
I have to talk. Lucas, you know I love you to death, brother. I consider you a great friend, but I have to disagree with you 100%. And this is like the first time. I'm always like piggybacking off of like Lucas when I was on Tough Talk. But I'm 100% with Javi. Rob, I don't know how you feel about it, but listen. It is rare nowadays to see a guy like Ryan Garcia in his prime who could have milked a couple of more fights, you know what I mean? Milk that undefeated record, you know, and say, listen, you know what? I'm going to milk it as much as I can until the Gervonta Davis fight was bigger. You know what I mean? Like that fight could have gotten bigger than what we got now. You know what I mean?
But Jules, he has a history, right? Where I said there's smoke, there's fire. He's already said he doesn't want to fight that long. He's already said he doesn't want to have that many more fights.
Gervonta Davis did too. Gervonta Davis said he said he wants a couple more fights and then he's out of there.
Takes champ.
I hear you. I agree 100%. But even listen, let's take the champion thing out of the equation. Ryan Garcia has a name. Gervonta Davis may be the face of boxing, but the reason why Gervonta Davis took that fight is because he knew Ryan Garcia has a name. You know what I mean? So, of course, he's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to, I only have a couple of more fights left because the guys that I want to fight, they have to be big names, hence the fight with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis.
Yeah, and listen, when you look at this, I've seen things in this training camp in Tank that I haven't seen before. He was extremely focused in this camp. Yeah. Extremely. There were people trying to give him interviews that interviews really didn't become interviews because he was so focused. He wanted to train. Tank was preparing for this fight like it was the most important fight of his career.
No, Rob, he was saying that. No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you go to his interviews that he was having interviews with what's the NBA player, Steven Jackson, and he said, listen, I'm not going to say anything negative about this guy. He said, this is my most dangerous opponent. He was like, everybody's saying I'm going to run through him, but I know I'm not. Gervonta Davis knew what was at stake with a guy like Ryan Garcia, because we could talk about, he has these habits and this and that. Ryan Garcia could do two things. He has fast hands, and if he catches you, you know what I mean? Like we've seen in the past, you can go to sleep. And Tank knew that, and he gave him his respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk back on another issue that Lucas is avoiding, because Lucas wants to put this all on Ryan. Ryan is so young enough that he needs to be steered in the right direction. And I just don't see him having the right direction with Golden Boy, with Oscar and Golden Boy. I don't see it.
Are you just talking about a promotional direction? I'm confused what you mean, because I mean, if you're talking about the direction of which he's fighting, you can say Goosen, but really a promotional company, Garcia should be like, I want to fight this guy. You need to make that shit happen. I mean, that's what that should happen. So I'm confused. What do you mean? Be more in depth.
Be more in depth. Just how they lost Canelo. Just how they had issues with Ryan before.
Like, that's promotionals. That's money. That's all that is.
Lucas, they're more than just a promotional company, damn it. They're Hall of Fame fighters. Both of them. So when you speak up for your fighter, I'm talking about the issues with not having his back in the press conferences. Being, as they say, what do they say? If you want to have your promoter be all up in the video, be all up in the video dancing, be all up at the weigh-in, all up in the press conference dancing, talking for you, the wrong kind of talk at that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Let the kid take the direction he wants to take and back him up. That's a promoter's job, and they didn't do it. They didn't want the fight to happen from the beginning. They told him not to take the fight, but he made it happen. So then they pull all these antics and crap going into the fight at the press conferences, at the weigh-ins, and I totally felt like they didn't believe in the kid and still don't. They're only backing the man because that's their only cash cow at this situation.
Well, most of that shit, I believe, is all set up anyway. I mean, this is to sell fights, just like they said at the end of it. There was probably never actually any animosity whatsoever. There's probably a lot of respect given on both sides. This was to sell it.
No, Tank felt it. Trust me, Tank
acted it.
Tank could care less.
Tank acted it.
Right.
I didn't see that.
Tank could care less if he shook the man's hand or not. He could care less. Like I said, when they fought at that nightclub, Ryan was like, hey, we going to be friends after this. And Tank grabbed a hold of his chain. Like, no, we not going to be friends because I don't like you. So don't care.
So let's talk even a little bit further, right? Garcia, fight night did not give any excuses. He kind of just took that loss like a man. But now posts are coming out saying he had a mole in his camp, reporting stuff back to Gervonta Davis. What thoughts on this, Rob? I know you got something.
Those are more freaking tactics given to him with De La Hoya and them. Hell, De La Hoya sitting here saying I didn't show up because I had death threats. Why you at the fight then if you were so worried about having death threats? And why are you so important that you were getting death threats?
Well, I mean, Oscar De La Hoya probably gets death threats on a daily basis anyway. I mean, he's a very... Right. I mean, regardless. Anyway.
And then B-Hop with the shit at the weigh-in. Of course, he's banned now because he touched the fighter. He touched Tank. You don't go in there and touch another man.
But to be fair, I'm going to be honest with you. I think with B-Hop, I think he was afraid that we were going to get the same thing with Rolly Romero when Tank pushed Rolly Romero off the stage. That was scary because God forbid if Rolly Romero hurt himself. You know what I mean? Like that fight would have been off. So I'm not saying Bernard should have touched him. I think Bernard was just trying to make sure, like, listen, this is a big fight. I need to make sure that nothing crazy goes happen. And, Tank pushes, between Ryan Garcia and Ryan Garcia breaks his hand or something, So I think he was just trying to prevent this fight from being canceled.
He's basically saying B-Hop was trying to protect his own check. He needs that check.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. You know what? There you go. Rob, you said he was the cash cow for how long? You damn right. Yeah. You're not protecting my investment. The guy already lost. It would have been terrible if the fight didn't come off,
I really hope, though, that this is opening the door. I love fights that are interpromotional. It makes what's boxing is great. Like I always say, that you don't see this shit in MMA or really any other sport for that matter. So I love it, and I hope that these continue. I love the interpromotional fights. But other than that, the mole in the camp, is this even real, or is this just some made up shit? Because how do you not out or find out who the mole in your camp is? Why do you even have somebody that's questionable in your camp in the first place?
I feel like it's all excuses given to him by Golden Boy. That's the way I feel at this point, because Ryan ain't even that type of man. He didn't want to give excuses in the fight. He didn't even, and he had excuses to give. These are all just shit that Golden Boy's trying to throw out there. Like Jules said, they trying to protect their chat.
Damage
That's all
control.
that is.
Damage control is what you're saying.
Exactly.
All right, where does Tank go from here? What do you guys actually believe he will take on next?
That's
a realistic
that's
goal.
a good question. That's a one question that I wanted to ask too, because a lot of the reason why I was giving Ryan a lot of props for taking the fight, because he was so willing to fight Tank for 2 years now, 2-3 years that this fight's been on the build up. That I felt like if he would have won, he would have gone straight for the Haney versus Lomachenko winner, or go against Shakur. Just keep daring to be great. Keep putting his name out there. I never been too happy with few of Tank's opponents, and I feel like after this fight maybe he deserves a little tune-up fight, but at the same time, there's something good that came out of this fight. It's like we want to see the undefeated guys facing each other. We want to see the top guys facing each other. We want to see the faces that are recognizable, the high-profile fighters fighting each other, so that we can see the competition, and this will separate the good from the better, from the best, because high level opposition fighting each other will make everybody be in their A game, and it will make everybody rise to the occasion whenever they meet each other. And that's when we're gonna see that's basically what we used to see back in the 80s and 90s from boxing. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys had no choice, no options, no B opponents, no tune-up fights, none of this stuff. They had no choice but to work themselves up the ranks, and once they were in the top 10, fight each other, and they will rise. We saw the legendary fights. So I don't know if Tank is gonna take that route. To be honest, I don't blame him either, because he is the face of boxing now. He can afford to fight certain guys that we know nothing about, kind of like Canelo has done. But I feel like here and there you should give us one of these fights that's gonna have a lot of people talk about it. It's gonna have high expectations, and it's actually gonna test you. It can be a 50-50 fight, because this was kind of like a 50-50 fight. Ryan had a chance. That was his speed, his reflexes, his size, his reach. He had a chance. Did he use it? No, but it was pretty even at some point.
Yep. I want to come back to a comment by CJ Hooker. Where did it go? Tank should give Pitbull Cruz a rematch. I don't think it's happening. I think that was a very close fight, but I honestly don't. I don't see that rematch happening at all. Tank even was like, nope. When they asked him post-fight, I don't see it happening. So would I love it to happen? Yes. I just don't. I could possibly see the winner of Lomachenko Haney, but maybe not right away. I do kind of see him taking some kind of a tune-up. But
who would it be the tune-up though? Who do you think
the blueprint?
Where do you go from fighting Ryan Garcia?
Yeah, here's the blueprint for Tank. And he said this before, and I honestly believe this is the blueprint for where he wants to go, where he's going. I think he will fight the winner of Lomachenko versus Haney and get those titles. And then, honestly, I think he should move up to 140 and then take on the winner between Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez. And then, at that point, maybe kind of take it easy after those big fights, because I think the career ender should be when Shakur Stevenson gets to that level and takes out those guys down at 135 and is ready to come up to 140. Then that's your career capitalizer bout. That's what I think the blueprint should be, and probably is for Tank. He's probably looking at taking on the winner between Lomo, Haney, moving up to 140, taking on a big opponent there, and then kind of halting until the next big fight, which to me would be a Shakur Stevenson, probably at 140.
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to not want to see that. I hope that's the case. All right. Anything else on that before I switch topics real quick? No? Okay. Let's talk David Morrell. Were you guys impressed? And then he goes on to call out Benavidez. What was your take on David Morrell? It was a short fight, but what little was there?
I'm happy for the exposure, same as Gabe Rosado. They deserve to be in that type of platform. There was a big fight. They got some exposure. People recognize him a little bit. Morrell is becoming high. He's building on some hype. But the guy that he fought, Falcao, I think he's a former Olympian. Yeah, he was levels above him. And I'm in a way, I'm glad that David Morrell didn't carry the fight around too much, because if somebody doesn't belong in the ring with you, then you make sure that you let him know that, and then let everybody else know that. As far as Benavidez, man, that could be a good fight. That could be a good fight, and that goes again to what I was saying earlier: a young, undefeated, hungry lion trying to go against the top dog. And I can't blame him for that, because imagine if we have a fight like that. I mean, that could be a good fight. I think Benavidez will win, but for the most part, I mean, it's two young guys, undefeated, and that would be a solid fight.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Morrell showed. I don't know if he showed me enough that I think he could take on a Benavidez, but I like what I saw. I would like to see some step-ups gradually. Yeah. I don't want to see him thrown in there a little too soon. But
I feel the same way. No. I'm with you, Lucas. Like, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like what Javi said, obviously you want to see two guys in their prime, undefeated and young, fight like we saw with Tank Garcia. But on the flip side, you don't ever want to throw a young not prospect, but a young fighter who's still, because Morrell only has 10 fights, right?
I think this was 9, I think.
That's what I'm saying. So you don't ever, want to put in a situation where, you put someone, especially someone like Benavidez. I mean, Benavidez is someone who you put the wrong fight in there early, he could ruin your career, and you don't ever want it to be. I always look at this situation, and I know it's an old fight, but you look at Davey Moore versus Roberto Duran, and that's one of the fights where Davey Moore was a favorite and a champion, and Roberto Duran was like, no, let me show you how this is done, and Davey Moore never recovered from that, and because they felt that he got thrown with a veteran like Duran so early, so. I think Morrell maybe needs a couple of more before he goes with Benavidez, and then we can see what he does from there. But I like what I saw, though.
For sure, me too.
Listen,
Rob?
I like that fight, and I like it now. Here's why. Here's why, though. Here's why, though. And it's not to play devil's advocate or none of that. It's because I want Morrell to get there without the clout, without the worriment of what I have to lose, without sitting there carrying and worrying about taking an O on your record. No, I want it to happen now, where he's fresh.
Yeah.
He's not full of clout. He's not worried about taking that loss, and he can just go in there and give it his all, not having to care about what the hell everybody else is going to say if you lose.
Rob makes a good point. Yeah, because we praise Lomachenko for it. You know what I mean? So actually, he makes a good point. Yeah.
All right, Rob, do you have any rapid fire for us? It's nearing that end of this.
It is 10:24, man. I had something cooking, but it'll be a long rapid fire. So we will save that one.
Was it relevant to Garcia Tank, or was it just kind of whatever?
No, it was another fun one, like I did with the March Madness theme. I was going to do something in lieu of the NFL draft.
Oh. But it was going to be a little bit long, I guess. Maybe we can do it next week.
Let's do it next week and keep the draft in mind, because it'll only be less than a week away from the NFL draft this week. So we'll still have that in mind.
Okay, we got William Zepeda, Diego De La Hoya, and Diaz in this weekend. Then the following weekend, of course, we're going to have Canelo versus John Ryder. We'll talk about that later. Jeez.
Do we have to?
Yeah, that's kind of the name of the game, But Thank y'all for tuning in. What's that, Jewel? Or Hobby? Sorry.
Part of the job, right?
Right, part of the job.
But we have a
I mean, I got to do it, right?
I know. I might miss that tough talk. I'll be back another 2 years.
All right, thank y'all for coming on. Again, don't forget to check us out, all of our social media at Heavy Bag Boxing, www.heavybagboxing.com, and see us again next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Good fight, good night.